You know, maybe this whole cracking down on crime thing in major cities is actually having an effect faster than we thought, because not only is crime down in Washington, D.C., in Los Angeles area, I think it was actually Orange County. It's okay. We're all safer because they caught the serial butt sniffer. And that's good news for the rest of the nation. An actual headline, an actual story up there. Wait till you hear the story behind this, and some video and some audio for you to check out. I don't know where we're at on that. But what else is in the stupid news we can make fun of and do something with? Help you manage all this crap. Thanks for finding Wicked Radio. Welcome to Monday. Also got to talk about, speaking of crime, an unbelievable video went viral over the weekend of an American tourist. Now, this is key to the story. She's a mom from North Carolina who apparently has a bunch of kids. Key to the story. And she caught the thief in Italy who stole her passport and her purse. She caught her by herself. Never mess with a mom. And speaking of cities, New York City's next mayor, because he is going to be the next mayor, a little trouble on the bench this past weekend. Not court proceedings. No. An actual physical weight bench, because this is all the new thing now. Public figures now feel the need to show you their strength. It did not work out for Zoran Mondani. Anyway, we'll talk about that too. Thanks for finding me and us, and thanks for being here. A little bit of business. Thanks for finding the live stream, all part of Wicked Wisdom with Bill Adams, all the social media channels, audio podcasts as well. Let's get right to it. Zoran Mondani, you've heard me talk about him. I'm sure you've seen him too in the news. He's going to be the next mayor. And the sooner you kind of wrap your head around this and understand that it's going to happen, I think the easier you can start to manage this in your life. Because whether you like it or not, and I'm not the biggest fan of New York City either, but what happens in New York does affect the rest of us in the country. It just does. It's our biggest city. It's the media capital of the world. It's the finance capital of the world. It is. All right? Now, this guy is a dyed-in-the-wool socialist. I'm not making that up. Self-described. He just is. This was the same guy you might remember if you haven't followed this too much. He wants to make it city and state-run grocery stores in New York. Yeah. Does not like Jewish people too much. That's him. An absolute radical left. That's the guy. He is leading so far in the polls in New York City for the mayoral race. I don't think there's anybody that can actually catch him. So like I said, you got to wrap your head around that this guy is going to be the mayor in what many people would tell you is our most important American city, at least financially and media-wise. It is what it is. But had his first big loss over the weekend. You may have seen this. I will give him credit because it didn't look like he wanted to do this at first. He's really hesitant. But it's now the trend. He was doing some kind of, I don't know what kind of city event it was. But now you notice this, and I think Bobby Kennedy started this and all the other ones. We've got our politicians these days showing us how strong they are, right? There's the big kick in the health for getting America healthy again. Bobby Kennedy was doing that with Pete Hegseth. I get it. So now all these politicians and political figures feel like they have the need to show you how strong they are. That's a good thing because that gets other people inspired. It doesn't work out for everybody. So he's at this event, and he's walking through, and he's talking to the crowd, and lo and behold, he comes across I think it was kind of like an outdoor workout kind of area, and there's a weight bench there. Now, he was egged on by the crowd to get on the bench and bench press what turns out to be 135 pounds. Now, I'm going to tell you straight off the bat, every single one of you, whether you're a male or female, you could at least put up 135 on this bench. You could. I believe in you. And the average American of any age could do that, right? Not this guy. Now, here's the video of it and the audio. You're going to have to put up with the idiot who's screaming at him and egging him on to do it in the first place. This is like some supporter, but unfortunately, this guy got the best angle of it, so we have to put up with him. But here's how it went for Zoran Mondani, the probable next mayor of New York City, trying to lift 135. The crowd is cheering him on like he got it done. If you pay attention to this, the spotter basically lifted it for him. It did not go too well.
We are the litmus test.
This is how you move up in the polls. This is how you move up in the polls. Yeah. This is how you move up in the polls. Yeah. Yeah. Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. Yeah. Let me get one more. Let me get three. Let me get three. Let me get three.
He didn't get one. That was the spotter lifting it for him. And again, I'll say this only because it's relevant to the story. 135. Every single one of you could do that. But this guy couldn't. Not to make fun of anybody else's physical attributes or lack thereof, whatever. It just is. Here's what's interesting to me. I think this was the first loss in this guy's campaign. Unfortunately or not, I've paid kind of close attention to this story. I've told you many times I have a daughter in New York City, so I'm petrified at already the situation that city's in because it's a dump now, and it's going to get worse under this guy's so-called leadership. And again, he's going to be the mayor. So I've paid attention to his campaign, and it's infuriating because it's such a well-run campaign. They pump out content in videos almost every single day, and they're good. And he's smart, and he's attractive, and he's a really good speaker, and he's slick. You know, obviously, because that's what a lot of people, that's what young voters will pay attention to. Not the policies that'll destroy their city even more. No, not that. But I think this is the first loss of his campaign because there should have been somebody around him that kind of guided him away from this, knowing that he couldn't do it, because that's not a good look. It's really not. And it reminded a lot of other people about that old expression that is true, that weak men bring hard times. Now, they're not always talking about somebody's physical strength, but still, the saying goes. So it's not going to cost him the election, but boy, that was a bad look. So maybe that campaign isn't as slick as I thought it was, because somebody should have guided him over that. You know, even though the crowd was egging him on, they thought it would go well, and they were cheering him despite the fact. Boy, that was a rough look. It really was. But doesn't matter. He's still going to win. He's up something ridiculous like, I think he's like 80% or something in the polls in New York City. I mean, it's horrifying, but he's going to win. We might as well get used to that. Other cities. Here's some good news for you. Here's how you manage this story. So this whole protest and the pushback against the crime crackdown in Washington, D.C., our nation's capital, right? It's happening right now. The pushback is not going well. I don't think I've ever seen a protest lose its energy and fall apart so fast as I have with this thing. Case in point. Here was a big gathering, big, I'm using finger quotes on that one, in Washington, D.C. over the weekend of people, again, wrap your head around this one, protesting making that city safer. You've got protesters against law and order. This is how broken and twisted they are. But anyway, here's the big gathering. Now, we're a couple of weeks into this. Already they've lost most of the people. The energy is gone. It's just gone. And most of the D.C. residents we've heard of now, turn on any social media channel you want. Follow the mainstream news even. They're talking to resident after resident saying, yeah, it's actually pretty nice. I actually like this. You know, there's less shootings. I hear less gunshots in my neighborhood. And by the way, they haven't had a homicide since this thing started. No homicides in Washington, D.C., our nation's capital, since they cracked down on crime. I think it's going over pretty well. But don't tell these folks. Now, I want you to listen for and watch out for one thing. Here's the big protest against the crime crackdown in Washington, D.C. over the weekend. Tell me if you notice anything, you video viewers.
We are the litmus test, and how we respond in this moment will determine how this federal takeover will play out in other cities.
Okay, a small crowd, very small, very low energy. And I don't know if you were able to see this on the video. You audio listeners, I'll just describe it to you. It's almost impossible, just on a statistic basis, it's almost impossible to have any so-called gathering of Washington, D.C. residents and not have any black people. They were all extremely white. I could say that as a white guy. It was a small crowd. And I will be willing to bet you they're not even from that city. We've heard all the reports about paid protesters against this thing. Now I 100% believe it. I am all in on that theory. How can you have any gathering of so-called residents in that city with a massively high black population? It's just a matter of fact. And you have a gathering of residents and there's no blacks there. That's when you know that's fake. That was ridiculous. I mean, I said it before, I've never seen a protest against something, some sort of movement that's lost its energy so fast. This may be coming to other cities even faster than we thought. I don't know, but that thing is a bunch of crap. I was kind of like on the fence before about, I don't know if they're all paid protesters. Come on, how could that be? It's been going on like 10 days now. No, I see that. Yeah, I believe it. Yeah. Because they talked to the residents in that city, and they are loving this. You know, people who are actually affected by the crime, who are just trying to go to their day jobs every single day. Yeah, I wouldn't believe what the mainstream news is telling you on that one. But the crime crackdown is not just happening in D.C. or other cities. Let's go to Southern California for this one. The whole country's safer now. You know why? Let's get to the real story of the day. Because they caught the serial butt sniffer. That's right. This is an actual thing. Now, those of us who have not been living in Southern California, we're not as attuned to this story as they are because it's so ridiculous. But it's been going on forever. The guy's name is Calais, I think? Crowder? I don't know. Whatever. He's a creeper. He's 38. He's been busted 13 other times for doing this. Exactly as the news story describes. He's a serial butt sniffer. Retail stores, grocery stores. He'll actually get closer to women, creep up beside them. He'll get down and pretend like he's looking at something on a lower shelf, and he'll start smelling their butts. Now, they always manage to catch him. Here's the thing that keeps on happening. Maybe it's California laws. Maybe he's got a great attorney and a lot of money. I don't know, but they keep letting him out on parole. Even as recently as a month ago, $100,000 bail. I don't know how he made it. I don't know who paid for him. I have no idea, but here's the other thing. He's a California registered sex offender on parole. These are words that should never go together, should never be uttered in the same sentence. Sex offender, parole. No, they shouldn't ever be on parole. But it's all right, they got him this time. Now, this lady, I did not understand this video at first. This is the girl that actually led to the arrest. She was in a Barnes & Noble, and she has a camera set up on one of the bookshelves and caught the guy in the act. So this is the main piece of evidence. I'm like, is this a setup? Is this what? She had set up the camera apparently because he had been following her, and then catches her in the act. This is this is the witness. This is the alleged victim. Let's call it that way. Describing the entire scene, and listen to how she describes this. There's a lot of this I don't understand, but it's okay, everybody. They caught him.
Many people have come to me saying that they recognize the guy.
It felt like anywhere I moved, he kept following me. So I recorded just in case he was trying to say anything or do anything to me. But I definitely didn't expect him to do this. Like, what the actual...
Pretending to be, like, crouching down by a bookshelf and then coming behind me and smelling me. And he does the same thing to another girl in the video as well.
I was so freaked out when I turned around and saw him literally under me, so freaking close to me.
At least.
There's a lot of stuff I don't understand about this. I'm sure you're the same way. Here's what I don't get. Now, I don't advocate violence. I would never do that. With that said, if this had ever happened to my daughters, I would really hope that they would take care of things themselves. Like, he would never get to the point where he would be able to either escape or get out on parole. I would hope my daughters, catching this guy in the act, would beat the absolute living shit out of this creepazoid. I would hope. Again, not advocating violence, but in this case, I think it's warranted. So I guess I am advocating violence. I don't understand how this happened 13 times previously, and none of these women have beaten this guy to a pulp. Or, I'm sorry, are they always alone in these stores? Like, where are the guys? Like, if you had seen a guy, most of you listening to this, most of you dudes, if you had seen a creeper doing this to a woman, you'd probably take care of it. Is Southern California so beaten down, and they're so afraid of being arrested themselves as a vigilante, or as a protector, or as a concerned citizen, or as a... maybe that's it. We got to get over that, because let me tell you something. This I know for sure. I don't live out there. I don't know anybody involved with the case, but I'd be willing to bet if you had beaten the shit out of the creeper in a store doing this, the cops are going to look the other way. I am sure they're tired of arresting the guy 13, 14 times, God knows how many other times, and seeing him walk out of the streets again. How did it get to this point where he's like still walking? I don't get it. I really don't. Oh, that sounds violent. You can't do that. Really? Because that would have put a stop to it, most likely. Because California's justice system, apparently, where you have, again, let me read it correctly, registered sex offender, and parole. Two concepts that don't jive. No, he should not be free on the streets at all. How does that happen? I guess he's got to be caught in the act 13, 14, 20, 25 times before something happens. Maybe. Now, if we see a story where this happens again, he's out on a parole or out of the streets, yeah, California's broken. It may be completely lost. I don't know. Because what that girl should have done is take a lesson from this lady from North Carolina, a completely different mindset state, in Italy. You may have seen this, maybe not, but here's a lesson to the world, especially Europe, especially thieves in Italy. Don't ever mess with an American mom. Complete opposite of what happened in Southern California with that story. This tourist in Italy, she's a mom. She had her purse stolen, which had all of her goods in it. I think it was her cell phone, but it's definitely her passport, which she was most concerned about, by a pickpocket. A couple of young girls in Italy on the streets and thieves. Well, usually that happens to Americans all the time in Europe. You always hear the stories, especially in Paris, and nothing ever happens to it. Slap on the wrist for the criminals. They go free and they rob Americans and foreign tourists once again. Not with this mom. No. Because she chased the girl down. She used on somebody else's Find My iPhone app, chased her down through the streets, grabbed her, held her by the ponytail until the police arrived, and the pickpockets were actually arrested. This is amazing. Now, you'll see it actually develop. Somebody's running video, probably somebody in her family, as she's holding her, waiting for the cops. Now, the good part of the story is the cops did arrive. She got all her stuff back. And at one point in the video, you may not hear this, she says, "Oh, no, don't mess with me. I have a bunch of kids." Now, this is how things are taken care
You stole my purse with my passport in it. Police.
And, of course, the girl starts screaming, and that's when the mom says, "Oh, no, that's not going to work with me. I have kids." Now, for example, if you had somebody like that North Carolina mom taking care of business herself who happened to live in Southern California taking care of the serial butt sniffer, probably wouldn't be in a story because the first time he ever tried it probably would have been the last. Good for her. All right, the takeaway? The first one is news-wise. I wouldn't worry about these protests against law and order. Yeah, actually protesting against cracking down on crime because the energy out of that has gone completely out the window. Don't worry about that. And the second thing is, again, never advocating violence, but teach your kids to take care of things like the mom, not like the lady in the bookstore. Serial butt sniffer. All right, I'm out of here. I'm out of material, and it's only Monday. Thanks for finding me. Thanks for finding the audio podcast, by the way. Those numbers are way up. I appreciate it because you press download right after this is done in a couple of seconds, and then you know when the new episodes are out. And this is always on replay on X as well, and in the other video channels, all the other social network channels. Thanks for being here. Who the heck knows? It's only Monday, but we're going to be talking about any of the stupid stuff in the news and how you can deal with it. We'll talk to you tomorrow.